Let's have Angela Fobbs join us now from Germany. Fobbs is with Democrats Abroad and she is the Director of Strategic Initiatives. Good to have you join us, Angela. Let's begin with the U.S. President and the executive orders by U.S. President Donald Trump, specifically the one on Birthright. Let me take you on that before we move to the climate change. We spoke to a Republican. What's your take on that in particular?
Well, what his order says is that children born in the U.S. don't have a parent who is a citizen or a green card holder would not be born with citizenship. And this upends 150 years of constitutional law, and it's in direct violation of the 14th Amendment. It is I it is a violation of the Constitution, and I hope that this doesn't go, that the courts will stop this as soon as possible.
But don't you think that would address the issues of human trafficking, other issues of, there are many issues we're talking about here. Don't you think that would affect that? Because the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments very clearly explains this. It's what the U.S. Constitution states. So is it necessarily a violation?
It is a direct violation. It's not a partial violation, and that many people in the United States, including Donald Trump, are U.S. citizens because of the 14th Amendment. If it wasn't for the 14th Amendment, he and his family would not be able to be citizens of the United States. I'm not sure if it would help with human trafficking, only because it's when you say human trafficking, I assume you mean people being smuggled across the border to work in the United States. But I'm not sure that's going to change that at all.
Okay, so how do you then, expect the U.S. administration, let's forget if it's Trump or Biden or whoever, deal with the issues of illegal immigrants? How do you deal with that? Should we be looking at, revoking the green card, or for those who came in illegally? Because it seems like the illegal immigrants are beginning to take advantage of, becoming a citizen and then entering into the U.S. illegally. How do you deal with illegal, migration?
Well, I think that's a complicated problem, and it requires it requires not a simplistic answer like let's just try to round up all the people that are not here legally. We should probably, and this is really just my opinion, we should probably figure out a process that's simpler to allow people to come in. They are needed. They are doing valuable work. Um, and I'm not really sure how the economy will work without all these extra people.
Now, no other country, as you already know, does this, Angela Fobbs. For how long would the citizenship rights continue until it becomes too much for the U.S. to handle? This is particularly some of the arguments from Republicans. For how long would this continue? For instance, you have Mexicans, immigrants there. You have Indians, the second in the world that illegal immigrants that move to the U.S. And the list goes on to China. For how long would they continue to, absorb, illegal immigrants and then before it becomes an issue?
Well, we're not the only country that has birthright citizenship. I believe there are 30 countries in the world that have birthright citizenship. And the United States is a very large place that could absorb a lot more people. I don't see it as a problem. It's a situation that we need to work on to resolve, but not in the way that President Trump is trying to resolve it. I don't believe it actually will solve the problem. Um, I think that there are probably a lot more people that don't have the proper documentation, or their visas have expired, or other situations than what any of us are aware of. And I think that it could cause not just traumatizing the people, but it could cause a great deal of problems within the United States if these people were suddenly ejected.
Now, let's move now to the Paris, Accord. What is your assessment of Trump pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord? I do know that according to research and statistics, they contribute 11% to emissions. So, what's your take on this?
Well, this is the second time that Trump has done this. And the first time, the accord had just been signed, basically, and he pulled out. And I don't believe that Trump understands the problem of climate change. And he has a lot of ideas about climate change that are not based in science, but more based in his own feelings. We've had a lot of climate incidents in the United States and all around the world. We're still undergoing a forest fire that is directly linked to climate change in California. Plus, there's climate incidents going on all around the world that keep happening. And it's only going to get worse if we don't do something about it. And unfortunately, he's one of those people that doesn't believe climate change is real. He thinks it's a hoax, but it's not. It's real, and we have to do something about it. And hopefully, the rest of the world will continue on making progress with this uh, while we've been pulled out of the accords.
Now, let's move to other issues with regarding the Trump's executive orders. As a Democrat, what other executive order troubles you or bothers you as a Democrat?
I'm really concerned about him wanting to shut down the Department of Education. The Department of Education is foundational for a lot of things that are going on in the educational sphere, especially if children have any kind of disabilities. The Department of Education um, handles that directly. They're not, their education is not being paid for by the local school districts. It's being paid for directly by the US government so that they have the proper accommodations and tools that they need to learn. Another thing that really concerns me is, of course, the tariffs that he wants to place on goods coming into the United States. Um, and I'm also, honestly, I'm concerned about the fact that we were withdrawn from the World Health Organization. We don't want to, being on the outside of the WHO is, especially since we just went through a pandemic, a global pandemic, is a little bit frightening. And people's health is very important. I'm also concerned about the diversity, equity, inclusion uh, that he wants to get rid of because he has misguided ideas about how people are hired, and that he and many other people that support this don't realize that diversity includes disabled people, veterans, women. It's not just taking Blacks and Asians and Latinos out of the workforce. It's that we want to have a diverse workforce. We want to make accommodations for people. And that's what DEI is all about. It's not about just displacing white people.
Now, you've listed a whole lot of some of the orders that, bothers you as a Democrat, particularly the one he talked also about pulling. You mentioned education, you mentioned WHO. For the WHO, some of the reasons given, which is during the COVID era, how that particular, issue with regards to the spread of the virus was handled, especially from Ghebreyesus, who is the one who Director General of the WHO. It wasn't properly handled at the time. That's according to Trump. What do you make of that? If it were reverse were the case, if it were the Biden administration and that had happened, would there be a difference? I mean, is it wrong that, he's done this? And what are the implications of pulling out of the World Health Organization?
The main implication is that we'll no longer have the collaboration with the rest of the world through the WHO. And I think that that COVID would have been completely different if we had a Democratic president, because in the beginning, Trump tried to dismiss it and downplay it and make it seem as if that it would go away in, I don't know, what did he say? It would be gone by April. That was in February, and it wasn't. Right now, the US is experiencing a bird flu epidemic, and he's cutting off the information from our health services to the people. That's also one reason why eggs are almost $10 a dozen, because we're having to kill a lot of the birds, the poultry, so that we're not able to get eggs. That's just a very small, hopefully now that stays small, but there have been transmissions of bird flu from birds or other animals to humans. So if we can't get a hold of what we're doing with viruses and other diseases that are communicable, it could be a very dangerous time for people in America.
Right. Now, let's keep our fingers crossed. Just as you said, there are many civil rights and human rights group and, lawyers that are taking this particular issue to the court. So let's see how that pans out. Thank you so much, Angela Fobbs, for joining us.